Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm at the Church of St Illtyd in South Wales. I know I say it all the time, but I just can't believe how lucky I am that I get to visit all these amazing churches. Unfortunately, this one, like many others, are under a major threat at the minute, so I want to show you around and explain to you in more depth exactly why that is. This church is very unique, and records indicate a Norman foundation in the 12th century. Firstly, let's have a look inside, then later we'll check out the ruins of the manor that was there before. You entered the church by this lovely porch, which was restored back in 1897. This church does have electricity, but like many others, I couldn't get the lights to work, so it's very dark in here. Luckily, the camera picks up quite well. It's a bit of a shame because when you visit, there's so much to see, especially in the chancel. The rather nice octagonal goblet-shaped font is from the Tudor period, so from around the 1500s. The present building is from the 14th century. The tower was rebuilt in the 18th. Here you'll find plenty of interesting plaques on the wall. This one states that back in 1887 a yew tree was planted by the tower for the Queen's Jubilee. I had a look around and this tree is no longer there. There is another yew tree in the graveyard which is definitely ancient, and we'll have a look at that later. Now, this church is actually open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is absolutely brilliant. I've had lots of comments on other videos from people who can't believe these churches are actually open. And unfortunately, this church has had quite a few things stolen from it, including the brass lectern. Now, I just think this is such a disgusting thing to do. And after talking to a couple of the church wardens here, it really spurred me on to try and promote this church. They've actually set up their own Friends scheme, which is only £10 a year. So I've joined that, and I'm going to leave all the details in the description. So if you'd like to help the church, you don't have to send £10. You could send whatever you can afford. If that's something you want to do, please go and check that out. The east window is dated 1656, and the glass showing the figures of Moses, Jesus, Elijah, John, James and Peter was installed in 1875 by a Charles Aubrey. There's some rather nice ledger stones inside the altar. This one is from 1588. Inside the chancel, you'll find the Basset tomb, which is an amazing monument. John Basset, who died in 1554, had been surveyor of lands to Queen Catherine Parr. His second wife, Elizabeth, lived on until 1596, and the estate was left to their daughter, also Elizabeth, who married Anthony Mansell of Margam. Their daughter, Mary Mansell, inherited the estate. Having married Sir Thomas Aubrey in 1586, it remained in the Aubrey family until 1910. The kneeling figures on the wall monument above the tomb are John and Elizabeth Basset. The figures lying on the coffin tomb are Anthony Mansell in full armour and his Elizabeth. 7 of their children are the weepers along the bottom of the tomb, and their names and dates of death are inscribed on the stone plaque on the wall to the left of the altar. As I stated earlier, it's very dark inside the church, especially in the chancel. So it would be great if some money was raised and there could be better lighting put here. And also, I'd suggest some security cameras to stop would-be criminals. As usual, I couldn't resist walking up the pulpit. I love to see the views that the vicars get. This church is still in use, and unlike the old days where there would have been one vicar for one church, the vicars nowadays have to spread themselves through many other ones to keep them going. There's a really cute organ here. I'd love to hear this one. I've only ever really heard the bigger, more elaborate ones. This statue of the Virgin and Child was given to the church by a Dutch airman staying at a hospital at Dunraven Castle in World War II. This is a really nice plaque. I'm not going to attempt to read it as there's too many abbreviations and I'm sure to get it wrong. The date reads 1700, so if it's this old, it's in fantastic condition. And at the bottom, you've got the skull with wings. I just love these symbols, and this is one of the best ones I've ever seen. This plaque is talking about the restoration on that tower and the bells inside it, and I believe there are 3 bells there at the minute. Everywhere you look, you'll find monuments on the wall, which is just stating history. Now, if we lose these churches, and we are losing a lot at the minute, we're going to really regret it. Our country was built on a Christian faith. And even though I don't consider myself to be a traditional Christian, I do have strong Christian morals. And I feel that these times are really dangerous with the takeover going on at the minute. And behind the scenes, most of you don't realise what the government are doing and what laws they're changing. And they're planning that when a church closed, they'll just wipe out all the graves, inside and outside. Now, that couldn't happen a few years ago. But, for example, this church, if they get their way, if it's shut, all of this would just be removed and then the church could be repurposed, which I believe it can't happen. It's disgusting even thinking about that. There is a new political party here in the UK, which I've actually joined, and it is showing a lot of hope. They want to protect these churches and bring back Christian morals. Now, I don't want to talk too much about politics because I know a lot of people don't like it. And they always say, don't talk about religion or politics. which I am doing both. So on a different video, I'll talk about that in a bit more depth. So these plaques are of the Aubrey family, which is tied to the Basset family, and they're the ones who owned the mansion, which is now ruins. And when we go back outside, we'll have a closer look at them. Underneath, you'll find a 14th century effigy of a priest with his hands folded in prayer, head tonsured, and a greyhound at his feet. We'll head back outside now. I hope you enjoyed the inside of the church. Just outside the tower is this large carved medieval stone, and it's thought to have been the base for a medieval cross and dates from the 1200s. This is the view from the north, and as you might notice, there's no gravestones this side. And traditionally, the north side of churches was avoided for burials because it was considered the dark or cold side, receiving little sunlight, and often associated with the devil, paganism, or as a place for unbaptized infants, suicides, or criminals. Here you'll find the only ancient yew in the graveyard, and there's a leaflet inside the church that reckons this tree could be 3,000 years old. Now, I've done a lot of studying up on this, and by the size of it, I'd say it's around 600-ish years old. So I would imagine this was planted when the church was first built, but not here before the church was. There's some really interesting coffin style graves here, which you don't see a lot of. So if you do come and visit the church, you'll get the added bonus of seeing the ruins of the once mansion owned by the Basset family. There's no sign saying you can't go inside and have a look, but I would definitely be careful because the building is in a really bad condition. You can see on the archway here that it's very unstable, and this side, I don't know what's holding the building up, because you could crawl inside that hole if you were stupid enough. The Aubrey family's connection to this manor significantly changed following a tragic accident in 1777. This tragic event occurred at Aubrey House. Sir John Aubrey's 5-year-old son, also named John, died from accidental poisoning. Overcome with grief and possibly self-blame, Sir John found Aubrey House unbearable and had much of it demolished, relocating to Dalton House. While the poisoning didn't happen at this manor, the Aubreys had already spent less time there. Their interest, particularly after acquiring Borstal, had shifted towards London. However, the death of his only son likely further diminished Sir John's attachment to the Welsh estates. And by 1826, the house was halfway to being ruined. That's it for today's video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'll see you all soon for my next tour.